Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Manchester United Juventus, the big Champions League match day game today. Manchester United end up stealing 3 points at the death. How did they do it? Where did Juventus go wrong? Don't worry, here are the interviews. We've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how Manchester United beat Juventus. So before we get to today's video, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. The bell below does give you daily notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/footy analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In today's video, we're going to break down how Juventus kind of had the upper hand in the first half and what they did right. Then get to the second half, see how Juventus went ahead, and then get to how United were able to mount an impressive comeback. But first, let's get to the starting lineups. We look at Juventus. According to UEFA, it was supposed to be a 4-3-3. But for the most part, it was 4-4-2. Dybala and Cristiano Ronaldo up front, out in wide areas. Bentancur tucking in a bit narrow. Cuadrado out on the right, and in midfield, Pjanic and Khedira. Then we get to Manchester United. No Romelu Lukaku. They go to a 4-3-3. They have Alexis Sanchez up front with Martial and Lingard out in the wider areas, and in midfield, Ander Herrera, Paul Pogba, and Nemanja Matic. When we break down this game, Juventus did start the game very well and were the better side in the first half, so let's get to that and see how they were able to be superior. So Juventus, Manchester United, we look at it 4-4-2 against a 4-3-3. We expect Juventus to dominate possession. That would leave Manchester United in more of a 4-5-1 without the ball. One of the key questions here is how are they going to stop Pjanic, because they were unable to do that at Old Trafford. They gave him time to really control the game. And the big issue with Juventus is that even if they have Alexis Sanchez sit onto Pjanic, what happens there is that you still have Chiellini or Bonucci that is able to really get on the ball. We know United would drop off into more of a deeper bank, so that doesn't really allow Pogba or Ander Herrera to step forward and apply pressure on Pjanic to allow Alexis Sanchez to push forward. So what happens here is that often they had a 3v1, and Juventus's best chances stem from the fact that Pjanic was able to play balls deep. They were able to have Bonucci and Chiellini step forward, and both of them were involved in spraying diagonals out to the wider areas, playing them over the top. And then you have the fact that Ronaldo could drift out left, he could drop deep and play with his back to goal. Dybala was looking to get to either side of Nemanja Matic and push out wide. And Juventus were very comfortable in that sense. So you have to think about the chance that they create from deep and then in wider areas. Would Martial and Luke Shaw be able to deal with Cuadrado and De Sciglio pushing forward? You look to the other side, Lingard, and the fact that you do have Ashley Young on the opposite flank. How are they going to cope with Bentancur and Alexandro? What often happened was that Bentancur moved off a bit narrow, so Lingard was able to close him out there and compress the midfield zone, but that allowed Alexandro to push forward. But more importantly, Ashley Young was United's outlet. When they were able to get onto the ball, they're able to spread passes out to him because Ronaldo's not going to track back because he's staying a bit higher. Bentancur is more narrow, so he has to drift out into that position. So Young had a lot of 1v1 opportunities with Alexandro. Didn't really lead to much, but that was one route of going about it. Juventus weren't really worried about United playing out the back. Whenever they try to press from the front, you would see Ronaldo and Dybala press the two center backs, and then they would drop off a bit deeper. There were times when Matic and Herrera in the earlier stages did drop off to split, but you had Pjanic pushing into that space to prevent him to prevent those two players from getting onto the ball when they individually went to split the center backs. So when you look at it here, it's how are United going to create chances? They didn't really create many in the first half. You could only think about the one time when Matic clipped the ball over the top for Alexis Sanchez to break in, but he was unable to control the ball and it went out of play. But besides that, it was about United trying to neutralize and trying to break on the counterattack. That didn't really work on their favor. So when we look at the first half, we have to look at Juventus. We have to see where they created chances, where they were finding weaknesses, and how United would be able to change that. So first, let's get to the first half and see what Juventus did right and where United went wrong. So we get to the first half, we think about the chances that Juventus created. We have to start with the first one. That's Bonucci, who's able to push a bit forward. What happens here? He's able to clip the ball ahead of the center backs for Dybala, who drops into that space. What happens here now is that obviously Dybala is pressed, and he clips the ball over Lindelof for Ronaldo, who is close by Shaw and Lindelof, and Ronaldo's shot is blocked. That was one key opportunity. We look to Pjanic now, who's able to step a bit forward. This is one play where he was able to find Bentancur kind of drifting off into that left-handed zone. What happens there? He clips the diagonal out to him. He's able to push it beyond Ashley Young. And what happens here is that he clips the ball through the box, pulls it back, but again, no one is able to attack it. So Juventus are getting into these zones, but they're not really making much of a difference. And that was the big worry for them, is that they're getting into great positions, but not finishing the job off. Another opportunity, this was probably one of their better ones, where you see, again, Bonucci is able to find Ronaldo ahead of the center backs. And what happens here in this play that's very key is that you have Sami Khedira, who is marked by Pogba. Those two are responsible for marking each other. He's able to run off Pogba, and you have Matic there watching him run into that space to the right of Lindelof. Ronaldo instantly locates that, identifies it. He nods it into the path of Khedira, but Lindelof comes across, and he makes a vital intervention. Besides that, Juventus were really able to attack down the right-hand side. We saw how they were able to get onto the ball because they had the numerical advantage in central areas. Down the right, De Sciglio was pushing back Martial, like I stated, so he was pushing him a bit deeper. You got Cuadrado out right. Cuadrado moved narrow. De Sciglio would stay out into that wide zone on the touchline. But what happened there was they were able to find some joy. The first opportunity, we see Dybala drift out into that right-hand zone, which he often did. And what happens there is that he slides the ball out to Cuadrado to go 1v1 with Shaw. He's able to cut outwards, and when he delivers the cross into the box, it hits off Matic, and it forces De Gea into a save. That was one opportunity, a bit fortuitous, but again, it just shows the threat that they have down that right-hand side, because Bentancur is tucking narrow to provide another central midfield option, and he played fantastic, retaining possession, dictating the tempo of the game, so that was key for him. Then we look to another opportunity where what happens here is that you have Cuadrado a bit deeper in a narrow position. You have Ronaldo ahead of Luke Shaw. You have Martial and Pogba out there on the left. He pokes the ball out to Ronaldo. Ronaldo instantly slides it to De Sciglio. And when he slides it to De Sciglio, Ronaldo darts in between Shaw and Matic, who tucked in a bit. So he plays the ball into Ronaldo, and Ronaldo instantly slides that ball into the box. And what happens there is that Dybala pulls out Herrera. So Herrera runs to Dybala, and that leaves Khedira free in the box, but he flashes his shot wide. Like I said, besides that, in the first half, you had Ronaldo in 1v1 situations with Luke Shaw in the counterattack. One led to a free kick that Dybala played into the box, and Lindelof made a vital interception. We saw Ronaldo go 1v1 with Shaw, cut outwards and flash a shot wide. We even saw a ball over the top for Ronaldo into the box going 1v1 with Smalling, but Smalling did a good defensive job. United, a bit fortuitous, but they defended well and cleared their lines well. Smalling and Lindelof did a good job, and although Juventus got into good areas, they weren't very threatening in the final third, and that was a bit worrying. So let's get to the second half and see what changes Allegri would make, if he would make any changes, and what changes United make to ensure that they were able to mount a comeback. So we're going to break the second half into two parts. The first part is going to be based about prior to United making the double changes. What we saw here was that Juventus didn't really change much. You had Dybala kind of sticking more central. Ronaldo was the one drifting out into the wider areas. But it's United who really got the first chance. It stemmed from Matic switching out the ball to Shaw. And when he switches out the ball to Shaw, Cuadrado's out there to mark him. We had Pogba pushing back Khedira a bit deeper, and then you have Martial from the left-hand side, who is looking to who is tight by De Sciglio. He's marked tight by De Sciglio. So what happens there is that the ball is played to Martial, who instantly pokes it into the path of Pogba, who holds off Khedira, and you have Shaw trying to make the run. He gets the pullback, but he's unable to really control it. And what happens there is that Martial picks up the ball, and he's able to run by Cuadrado and Pjanic, and then wrap a shot inches wide of the post. But again, it stems from Martial down the left-hand side, and that would be critical as the game progresses progress. But we get everyone back into their position. You have to look at it and you think that when you break down Juventus' chances prior to the goal, only one really comes to mind. It's just Dybala hitting the crossbar, and that just stems from Dybala picking up the ball to the left of Matic from Cuadrado, who played it beyond Pogba. He's just able to turn. No one closes him. He bends his effort off the bar. United they weren't getting enough credit here, but the defenders did very well on several different occasions. Smalling, Lindelof, Young, and even Luke Shaw made vital challenges in the box. And this is where you felt that Juventus lacked another center forward or another aerial presence like Mario Mandzukic with Ronaldo, so that he could float around and they could still deliver crosses into the box or free up space for Ronaldo. But again, it still stems that Ronaldo was the big talking point here, and the build up to the goal, it just goes to show that Juventus stuck to what they were doing well in the first half, and United didn't fix the issue. This time it's Bonucci pushing forward, and with Bonucci pushing forward, he's able to clip the ball and locate the run of Ronaldo, who's running in between Lindelof and Smalling, plays off the last shoulder. He's able to volley it first time over his head into the corner. De Gea can't do anything about it, and that's how Juventus go ahead. We think about another chance they do get, stems from Pjanic a bit deeper. What happens here is that Pjanic is pressed by Pogba. So when Pogba steps to him, what he's able to do is play the ball in between Pjanic, in between Pogba and Matic, who is occupying Bentancur. And what happens there is that he's occupying Bentancur. What happens, Dybala is able to drop off. And with Dybala dropping off now, he's able to turn and he locates Ronaldo on the left-hand side. Ronaldo now is able to run at Shaw and he pulls the ball back. What happens there is that the shot, it forces Pjanic to force a save out of De Gea, and that is where Juventus were going with things after. You have, again, you have Pjanic stepping into Pogba, falls to Cuadrado, pulls it back for Pjanic, he scuffs his effort wide. You have Martial being pressed by Cuadrado and Bentancur, which leads to a 3v3 break. You have Cuadrado slide it to Ronaldo, get it back, and sky his effort over the net. In between that, Matuidi had come on for Khedira. That didn't really change things significantly in terms of how the game was going, but Juventus had all these quality chances. They had their chances, they didn't take them. And then when you think about United making their double substitution, bringing on Fellaini and bringing on Juan Mata, then we saw things change. So let's get to that next. So prior to the double substitution, we do see Manchester United bring on Rashford for Lingard. Then what happens is that Herrera and Alexis Sanchez leave the game. Mata and Fellaini come on. Fellaini moves just in behind Rashford. It is more of a 4-4-1-1, 4-4-2. And then you have Mata from the right looking to move centrally, looking to drift out to the left-hand side to create overloads. And United responded real quick. And what happened there is that they have Fellaini now more of an aerial threat. When they did have Alexis Sanchez playing from the front, it was easy for Chiellini and Bonucci to sweep up because a lot of the play that United did have to orchestrate was on the ground. It wasn't over the top. Those two center backs weren't really tested. Here with Fellaini, it took only a matter of minutes. Long ball played into him. He wins the aerial duel over Bonucci. It slides it out to Martial on the left-hand side. What Martial does now is he's able to locate Rashford running ahead of De Sciglio. He turns and he wraps his effort inches wide of the net. From there, we see Allegri make his move. He brings on Barzagli for De Sciglio, and now we see Juventus move to more of a 3-5-2. With that being said, you have Cuadrado out in the wing-back role. You have Alexandro out in a wing-back role, and then you have the midfield three of Bentancur, of Pjanic, of Matuidi. What happens now is that sometimes Dybala would drop off, and you would make it a 5-4-1 if need be, but that was how they were lined up for the remainder of the game. They were dropping off a bit deeper, and what happens here is that a lot of United's play did stem through Martial. We think about besides that play, we think about Martial running at Cuadrado and running at Bentancur, skipping by them with ease, playing his cross into the box, and Szczesny was able to push it away into danger before Juventus cleared. We think about the build-up to Mata's equalizer. How does that happen? Well, what happens there is that you have, again, Martial in a central role, and he drops Bentancur. And when he drops Bentancur, now he's able to play a pass between Cuadrado and Pjanic for Rashford. Rashford was holding off Bonucci. You had Fellaini on Chiellini. On the right-hand side, you had Shaw and you had Mata occupying Barzagli, who was really close to him. So what happens there is that Martial is able to play that pass to Rashford, is able to squeeze in between those two to get it back, and then he plays the pass into Fellaini in between Bonucci and in between Matuidi. So he plays it into to them, and then he squares it. He drops it off to Pogba. When he drops it off to Pogba, it's behind him, and Matuidi fouls him. And what leads to that? We see the free kick that Mata scores, superb. And then shortly after that, what happens is that we get the winner. And again, it stems from United substitutes making a difference and Juventus's. Cuadrado nods the ball back to Barzagli. Rashford presses him. He nips the ball away, and then Barzagli fouls him. You get the free kick from Ashley Young. You have Fellaini attack it, and he occupies 3 defenders in Bentancur, in Barzagli, and in Chiellini, and he occupies them. He nods the ball towards goal, and the rest is history. It eventually ends up being an own goal, but Mourinho's substitutes made an impact. Allegri did bring on Barzagli. That didn't work out when they switched to a back 5 or more of a 3-5-2. But when you think about it, Juventus didn't take their chances. United were able to hold it together in the first half. They weren't really closing down Pjanic and Bonucci and Chiellini. They weathered the storm. Their defenders made some vital interventions. The second half came along and they had quality chances, and Juventus squandered them. Mourinho's men stayed in the game. They made the attacking changes. Anthony Martial was pivotal. Fellaini was pivotal. Even you could say Rashford for his influence on the fact of winning that free kick, and Mata converting the free kick for at least an equalizer was pivotal. And United have brought some life into this group. Juventus have a game to play for against Valencia, and this was another big game win for Jose Mourinho. But let me know what you guys think. Who won this game? Was it more about Juventus winning the game, or Juventus losing the game and Manchester United winning the game? Was Mourinho's substitutes that more impactful? And what about Juventus? Are they still favorites to win the group? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.